Fremantle in with a big test this weekend. We unpack all the stats important to the Gold Coast and the Dockers clash. Plus, West Coast, what are they going to do without one of their star forwards as they take on the Cats? This is what's ahead in the West.
Freo start with a flurry. A huge win. Reid gets to work and powering away with a couple of bounces. Harley Reid on full show. Unbelievable! And they go at it again.
Hello and welcome to What's Ahead in the West right here on Footy West. I am Lucas, I am your host. We've got a few things to unpack today and we'll jump straight into things today and we'll head to the big stories of the round for West Coast and Fremantle, and we'll start with the Eagles, and they've got a few things coming up on their agenda. How can West Coast withstand the Cats? They've got a big challenge at home in front of you. Would think a packed out Optus Stadium. How will they manage the heat from the Cats? And improvements need to be shown. It's a few games now. West Coast have been playing okay. So will they be able to continue that? Obviously without Jake Waterman, can the young guns step up and fire a few shots? And we'll head to the Dockers, and they've got a big game incoming. Can they show that they are serious? There's a huge test for them against the Gold Coast up in the Gold Coast. It's a quality opposition. We've seen with the Gold Coast Suns so far this year, they have been up to the challenge and making it with the best. So it'll be make or break sort of for the Dockers. It's a true indication to see if they are going to be serious this year. And we'll have a look more at that now. So it's crunch time for the Dockers. We can look at their wins there. Fremantle 6-5. And you can have a look at some of those wins there. You've got West Coast away, the Bulldogs home, Richmond away, Adelaide at home, GWS away, and Port Adelaide at home. So there's a few quality opposition there. And you look at Gold Coast, similar to the Dockers, they've beaten a few good opponents, mostly at home. They're still waiting for a big stamp authority win. I suppose Hawthorn at home was something like that, albeit it was at Darwin, where they play really, really well. But you can only beat who's in front of you, and Gold Coast and Fremantle have done the job, more so Gold Coast. Fremantle have let a couple slip there. Obviously Melbourne, they're the big blemish, and Sydney as well, in hindsight. So there's a few problems there for the Dockers to work through, but they get this one done. They move to 7-5 heading into their bye, and they'll be well placed to make a challenge towards the end of the season. So it's a big game for them. Alex Pearce has been cleared by the MRO free to play after a 3-game suspension was turned around essentially and dropped and kicked out by the tribunal. So it's going to be a big indication against the Suns of where the Dockers are at. But there's a few stats that the Dockers need to sort of look at, and I'm sure they will in their review. Justin Longmuir will probably go through this with the team. And here are some of the key stats. So you look at scores from forward half. Gold Coast are number 1 in the competition for that, and Fremantle sit at 16th. So that's an area of concern maybe that the Dockers will have to address and sort of work out how to combat that against the Suns. And you also look at the metres gained. Gold Coast are a very territory-based team. They're number 1 in the league. They've got nearly 300 more than the next best side. And then Fremantle are ranked, probably middle of the ground, ranked 11th there. So Fremantle have got a couple of work to do on that. Gold Coast are a very quick moving side. Fremantle's defence has been sound, but they've got to find a way to maybe stem the flow of the Gold Coast run and carry through the middle. An interesting thing as well that caught my eye was the average kicks per side. Gold Coast are ranked 15th and Fremantle are ranked 16th. So you would expect a lot of sort of handball. I know Freo have sometimes overused the handball at times, so that's going to be a thing to identify for them because they haven't really resorted to kicks. Obviously, like you can see, they're ranked number 16. Same as Gold Coast, they have that sort of formation where it's run and gun through the middle, through the hands, and hit up a lead inside 50. So that's an interesting stat for this game. I wouldn't expect too many kicks and a lot of a handball game. And there are a couple more as well. Average centre clearances, Fremantle are in 4th and Gold Coast are in 3rd. So I expect a good battle in the middle of the ground. You've got Rowell, Anderson, Miller sort of taking on the likes of Brayshaw and Sarong. So that's going to be an intriguing battle. It's going to be a fun battle to watch. Some very good midfields going head to head there. And you would expect whoever can get on top of the other in the middle, it'll go a long way to creating a pathway to win the game. And then just quickly as well, scores from defensive 50 as well there we saw. It's Fremantle in second for the competition, Gold Coast in 10th. So Fremantle, if they're going to win this game, they're going to sort of generate scores from their back half and move it through the ground, sort of by hand, you would think, as we saw there with the kicks, ranked 16th in the competition. So that's sort of some areas of this game that are going to be important to see which team can get on top. And you would hope that Fremantle have a plan to combat Gold Coast's run and carry. Well, our attention shifts now to the West Coast Eagles, and they've got a big challenge coming up this weekend. They're facing off against the Cats in Perth. They're going to be wary of the big task at hand, and we'll take a look at the last couple games against Geelong that the Eagles have played, and it's not pretty viewing for an Eagles fan. Geelong have won the game by an average of 70 points over the last two encounters. So that is a alarm bell ringing at Eagles HQ. Can they stop another blowout against the Cats? It'll be interesting as well up forward for the Cats. Jeremy Cameron has had an absolute field day against the Eagles in the past. He's kicked 13 goals too from his last two encounters. Obviously 9 goals won and 4 goals won in the last two encounters. So West Coast, how will they stop that? They don't necessarily have the backmen to do that job, and that is something that will really concern the selection committee going into this game. Jeremy McGovern obviously out indefinitely with the concussion, so that is a big blow. Harry Edwards, is he up to the task? Maybe, maybe not. Sandy Brock could be an option, sort of again throwing him to the wolves like against Jesse Hogan. He's held his opponent to just 1 goal last week, and before that, I think he held his direct opponent goalless in the last 2 or 3 times. So that is something that they could look at maybe and give Sandy Brock another big task, but it is going to be a huge sort of opposition and a sort of big game for the Eagles to see where they're at. Have they genuinely improved and are stopping these massive blowouts, or are the Cats just going to be too good? I think the Cats will probably be too good for the Eagles. So we head to the big questions now of the round, the burning questions for Fremantle and the West Coast Eagles. And we'll start with the Dockers. And it's simply put, do the Dockers deliver? Do they deliver on what they've been promising since the end of last season to stop the talk and start the bite? Can the Dockers get over the line against the Suns in Gold Coast? A near impossible task last season. Gold Coast, a very good record up at the People First Stadium last year. They've just played the 2 games there so far, so this will be their Gold Coast 3rd game at home or at People First Stadium for the year. And if Fremantle do that, you would say they are definitely back in contention for the premiership. Like I mentioned earlier, 7-5 going into the bye. That is where you want to be, and if Fremantle get over the line, that is where they will be. A positive win-loss record, ready to recharge and reload for the back end of the season to make a push for finals and that elusive first flag. I think they've got the list to do it. It's all about the coaching, the execution, and the consistency within the Dockers. So we will go to the Eagles' big question now, and it is, how much can the kids step up? There's obviously going to be a lot of young players, like we've seen a lot this year already from the Eagles. Waterman now out of the side with a season-ending shoulder injury, which we'll touch on in a bit. But that provides an opportunity for a young forward to come step up. Maybe a Jack Williams back in, Archer Reed back in, Job Shanahan maybe, perhaps with an opportunity to make his case in the senior side. There will be a lot of kids in this side, and will they be put to the wolves by Geelong? Probably, but it's a great test of maturity, and at the end of the day, every game is a learning game for these young players. You don't want to be losing by 70 every game, but if you can take small wins out of the game, that is something for the Eagles and the Eagles youngsters. So that is a big question. How much will the kids step up? Which kids will step up? We've seen a couple step up in big moments already. Can there be any more for the Eagles? It's time now for what I like to call the change room, and we'll head to the change room for the Dockers and the Eagles. And the Dockers, they do have a couple of players available, and you might recognise those names. They are big names for the Dockers. Sean Darcy and Nat Fyfe are a test for this week. You would expect them to probably get up. Will they be rushed straight into the senior side? I'm not too sure. We will find that out on Thursday night. Alex Pearce obviously getting off at the tribunal, so no out there for the Dockers. Just Cooper Simpson with quite a gruesome AC joint injury, so he will be out for about 10 weeks there. So that's a bit of a negative to come out from the Dockers over the last weekend. But other than that, they are looking pretty good to go. Hayden Young is not too far away, I don't think. 6 to 8 weeks, I reckon, for him. And we look to the Eagles as well. Jack Petruccelli looks to be a test to be available for selection. So he's a quality depth player. Probably not a best 22 player every week, but he's a nice depth option for the Eagles should they need him. But obviously Jake Waterman, the huge blow for the Eagles there, out with a shoulder for the season. So we'll look as well at the Eagles players, because this was something that caught my eye as well with the West Coast Eagles. So they've got not a huge injury list, but the names on that injury list, you've got Yeo, McGovern, Waterman, Cripps. They are four probably of West Coast's better players. And then you've got McGovern out indefinitely. Yeo's still 5 to 6 weeks away. Waterman's done for the season, and Cripps has still got 3 weeks with an ankle. So they are four quality players for the West Coast that they are missing. Four players that West Coast probably needed to stay fit. And without these four on the park for the Eagles, it makes the task a mammothly more difficult task. So that is a very intriguing point for the Eagles. Can they get over the line without these very important players in any matches? I would doubt it against most opposition, which is a big blow for them. Not only for their sort of skills and their talent on the field, but also the leadership. McGovern, the vice captain of the side, Waterman in the leadership group, and Yeo is always been a leader for the side, Jamie Cripps too. So that's very interesting for the Eagles. Hopefully it's not too much longer before we see them back out on the park for the Eagles. Final tips for the round. I think Gold Coast might just pip the Dockers there. Still not completely sold on the Dockers. No doubt they have the capabilities to do the job up there on the Gold Coast, but just not quite sure yet. I think the Gold Coast will get over the line, and obviously Geelong, I think, are going to pretty much smash the Eagles. But that is it from What's Ahead in the West for this week. If you enjoyed, make sure you leave a like, subscribe, turn on post notifications so you never miss another video here on Footy West. I am your host, Lucas, and thank you for tuning in again to What's Ahead in the West.